Welcome to Blue Monday from the Blue Room with me, Les and Dave. It's yet another happy Monday as Everton Women went to the Upside Down and did the business again. That's their 6th win on the bounce at Anfield. It was international weekend for the fellas, so we're obviously going to talk about Jordan Pickford. And then we're going to have a look ahead to Villa at home on Saturday. As ever, Blue Monday is brought to you in partnership with Invisible Wind Factory, the first venue on the right as you head to New Ground from town, just on the corner of Regent Street and Regent Road. It will be open again ahead of Aston Villa with pies, pints, and pre-match entertainment. And Ryan Rooney will be doing a set after the game, followed by the Invisible Wind Factory's house band. Before we kick off, a bit of housekeeping. If you watch it on YouTube, please do give us a like, a subscribe, and a comment. If you're listening on the pod, please do leave us a rating and a review. And if you're a Patreon subscriber, we're putting every podcast out on the platform this season to make things a little bit easier for you. If you're not a patron, you can sign up at patreon.com/theblueroomextra. And if you shout us basically the price of a pint each month, you'll all get the usual podcasts, advert free, and some extra ones as well each week. Dave, Everton Women, we need to start on that, don't we? As I said, recorded the 6th consecutive win at Anfield, which is a mad stat. And on Sunday was the first time that Liverpool had actually scored against Everton and that whole time. I think Pete was telling me so. Just before we started recording, he said it's a good way to win a derby, that, isn't it? To go down 1-0 and come back. Not that we've experienced it too often, but it was an incredible effort from the women.
Yeah, it was brilliant. And like you say, you got the number on them at Anfield. You know, it's a shame the fellas haven't, but I think most people would think that, wouldn't they, as soon as they find out that Everton going to win 6 games on the spin away to them. And you're right. I think when you go behind in a game, I think there's no better way of winning a game than coming from behind, other than absolutely destroying them. Like if you were winning 4-0 and conceded a goal, you sort of like not asked about that, and you're celebrating early on. But to go one behind and then come back and win it, it's fantastic. And by and large, the players have seen we've got this season, which obviously, if you listen to Pete's a little bit of his post-match, but also the pods returning earlier last week, you'll hear about all the brand new players that we've got, and Everton are making a real financial statement in who they're bringing in here. I was listening here at the BBC, a couple of commentators they had on earlier saying Everton are a real dark horse this season, simply because of the players they brought in, and no less than what we've started the season with, going and beating them. Because I think they were round about the same level last season. In if you look at the WSL table, yeah. For them to go and do that, I mean, what a start to the season! That's the springboard you need, isn't it, to start the campaign? Interesting. Just further afield, I was doing a bit of work on London City Lionesses, and I tell you what,
they're big, aren't they?
You talk about the Man City of women's football. Yeah. My word, I think they signed the best player, made the most expensive signing. I'm not too sure how much it was for, but also they've signed 16 players since they got promoted, and they just seem like a different entity. I was talking to the managing director, and she was mentioned Everton actually in terms of teams that are clubs that are properly investing it now, and it was almost like a really lazy comment to make. The women's football's growing. Oh, the Lionesses won. Whilst that remains to be true, I think you're now actually seeing substance behind it, and I think no less than when you see Everton go there with a brand new group of players in, by the most part, winning a game. And I think obviously with it coinciding with Goodison being the women's team's home, everything seems to be falling together at the right time there.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time for Everton Women, isn't it? I think in the summer when they were signing players left, right, and centre, and the fellas were like not really doing much in the transfer market, it was a bit like, are they just concentrating on the women for a while and then we'll do the fellas? I mean, it's all panned out fine in the end. But yeah, like you say, they brought in a load of new players, which in itself is not easy to sort of make that team gel. But they looked really good. I think the first half they deservedly went behind. They were awful. And then the second half, they just came out, took the game to Liverpool, and absolutely battered them. Ornella Vignola is one of those new signings, and she got a hat-trick. And honestly, the first one was, if anyone hasn't seen it, the first goal. Remember Salah, when he got the Puskas Award for the one in the derby?
Yeah, sadly.
It was a carbon copy of that, but without the foul on the fullback. So she cuts it and ends it in. The second one is the most Everton goal you will ever see. Cross from out wide. She's kind of in between the 6-yard box and the penalty spot and just flicks a header in, but gets so much power on it, just thuds off the bar and in. It's lovely. And then the third one was like a deflected shot. But it was some performance and some debut, that isn't it?
That header goal. I don't know about you, but there's nothing better than when your team scores a goal and you can hear the net.
Oh, I know.
Like you
It was
hear
like
it.
Ethan Hall last week at Wolves, wasn't it? That one,
Yeah.
you could hear the net on that one as well. Yeah,
That's it. You just hear it. Like, and obviously Tarkowski when he scored against the last derby at Goodison as well. You can hear that just before everybody goes absolutely nuts.
yeah.
When you can hear that off the bar and it hits the sort of the stanchion on the floor behind the goal as well, and just clips it. I just love that sound. It's absolutely brilliant.
I was
That
speaking
was.
to Pete.
Go
Go
on,
ahead.
sorry. No, I was
That
just
was
going to
good.
say that was my favourite goal of the four, to be honest.
Oh,
Even though
brilliant.
the best of the goal was that undoubtedly doing what Salah did to us that time, where she cuts
Yeah.
inside, just bends it into the corner. I mean, it's a sublime finish. And then deserves a little bit of luck with that goal towards the end there to get the hat trick. But yeah, that header, it's just like like she's quite, like you say, she's quite far out in terms of a header, and the way she's able to turn her neck and be able to knock it towards goal with quite a bit of power.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic finish.
Because it wasn't like a bullet header where you run onto it and get the power behind it. She actually had to flick her neck to sort of direct it and get the power on it.
She has to take like half a step back, I think it is, Les.
Yeah,
So she's flicking it round with the neck. But when you say flick, it's like if someone hasn't watched it and they're hearing us, it's like you're thinking it's just like maybe just grazes it. She actually alters it and absolutely nods it towards goal. It isn't just like let it hit you sort of thing, or just about get to it. And yeah, anyone needs to go and watch that because it's always brilliant beating them on any occasion. But to go and beat them 4-1 is when's the last time we've done something like that there, men or women?
Oh, I don't think we ever have. Well, the last time anyone scored a hat trick there was Dixie Dean in 1931. So there you go. That tells you all you need to know about that. But yeah, I was speaking to Pete after the game, and he was convinced it was an own goal off one of their players who'd volleyed it into the net or something, because he said the header was that powerful. He couldn't believe it. She got that header in. But yeah, it was a brilliant result and a really good start to the WSL, because you think as soon as you saw that fixture, it was like, I mean, our hearts would sink, wouldn't it, if it was the fellas going to Anfield on the opening day of the season? Like, oh, do not want this. I was speaking to Pete on Mailbag on Friday, and he was saying they've won, like Everton Women have won the last 5 at Anfield. So I was saying to him, well, the pressure's on for this one, because it's going to come to an end at some point. And you kind of think the longer it goes on, it feels like the more pressure gets piled on, doesn't it? And then when they went 1-0 down and they were playing bad, I thought, oh, this could be the one. But yeah, they just really did show that they're a cut above the Reds, definitely.
Yeah, and the opening day of the season as well is like, it feels like that obviously sets the tone, doesn't it? I mean, maybe that's a bit ridiculous for me to say that, given we got beat at the men's, then we got beat 1-0 by Leeds. But then when we got our first home game, and we were off and flying, weren't we?
Yeah.
So it'd be great to see the women getting to Goodison and seeing what that's like, and the atmosphere and everything that's get done in and around there. I'm definitely going to get to as many games as I possibly can this season. So yeah, I mean, all's bright to start the campaign like that, isn't it? The perfect way to start it.
Yeah. And I just wonder how much, so obviously there's investment going in the team now where there hasn't been for years. I just wonder how much of a pull Goodison's been for those players. Like we're saying for the fellas, come and play in this brand new stadium. It's amazing. It's the best one in the country. For the women, coming to play in this historical old stadium, it's like it's a proper football stadium, not just like a little few stands that have been put up somewhere, and it's your ground as well. You're not sharing it with the fellas. It's your ground. I feel like that must have been a pull as well, mustn't it?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, you think about that compared to Walton Park, which he did a decent job of for what it was, but it limited. And I think you're right. I think it's in your, it's sort of not front and center in your eye line, but it's in the back of your mind. If you're the team going to play Everton away, you start thinking, oh, we're going basically to play football, with all due respect, in a park. You're like, I'm not going to be as G'd as that. Away fans aren't going to be thinking, oh, do you know what, it's a big team to go to. When they're going to Goodison, no. I'd like to think a lot of the women and the WSL fans would be looking at Goodison when we all said goodbye to it, thinking it's been adopted by the women's team. It's a place you really want to go to. Much the same way I think everybody else did towards the end of the season. Men, women, or child wants to go to Goodison as much as they could before they finally said goodbye.
Yeah, and then when you put it in context as well, that was so obviously I think the women have to play 1 or 2 games, don't they, at the men's ground. So last season that was their big venue for the big games, and now it's just every game for them now, which must be great. And the donuts are only £2.50 there. So, what more reasons you need?
Well, there you go. You want the women's games to be like maybe they kick off at noon and then Everton play at 4. You sound, aren't you? Get your donuts sorted out and then go to the game and don't have to waste any of them.
That's it. Just Kirkdale to Sandhills and you're done.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Obviously, no fellas this weekend because it was an international break. So I thought, why not talk about Jordan Pickford, because all the press have again this week. We've had the usual stuff. I think most people in the press, although they always give him that backhanded compliment like he's never done anything wrong. He's well exceeded not doing anything wrong. He's excelled probably more than anyone, I think, in that team over the last few years. England beat Andorra 2-0. Jordan Pickford with that racked up more than 630 minutes without conceding a goal at international level. So in the games during that period, I think that's about 6 games now he's not conceded the goal. During that period, any keeper who's replaced him has conceded a goal. So it's like, you can't say it's the opposition or anything like that. He's keeping clean sheets where other keepers aren't, because they're coming in. They're not coming in games against shit hot international teams because you play your best players in them. So it's all of a very similar level, but they're conceding and he's not. And it's just like, that conversation just needs to end. Now, I think he needs to get one more game with a clean sheet under his belt, and then he beats his own record for consecutive clean sheets, which he took off Gordon Banks about 2 or 3 years ago or something. So he's like, I think his cap record, he's just beating records all over the shop. And I think it's time the conversation ended, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it is. And it's not like, he's got Bobby Moore in front of him, is it? Do you know what I mean? Let's face it, England got the top-class defenders, but it's not like he's standing there all game. I tell you what, even against like the dog and duck, like you're playing Andorra, the 2 games England have won against them were both 2-0, I think I'm saying. And then they got beat by Senegal, didn't we? Again at Forest earlier this year, back in June. He wasn't in goal for that, was he? Because it was what? Sorry,
it was Pope, wasn't it, for that one?
Pope's in goal for it, yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't look. People will say, "Oh, that's just by coincidence because of who you're playing," and simply he wasn't in goal when someone's rattled one in off the bar. But that's obviously not the case, is it?
No.
He's a phenomenal goalkeeper, and look, most people listen to this, and you'll know if you've listened to me or bang on about it. But I don't particularly have an interest in England or international football until it gets to the summer when you are actually watching tournaments, World Cups, Euros. I like that because it takes up your summer before the season comes back. But I feel for him. I mean, the contract details look like it's going along well. I mean, if this is the contract he signs now, that'll probably be his last one at Everton. That'll be, I would imagine, a multi-million, maybe 5-year contract, and that would see him to 36. So, I think it's incredible that we've had him that long. I reiterate that all the time. I mean, he's coming up to his testimonial too. I think that's next year because he signed in 16. Am I right in saying?
Yeah, I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah, it was that first round of Steve Walsh signings, wasn't it?
Yeah, and Steve Walsh probably got his tattoo saying that, listen, I've done this as well as winning the league for Leicester, which is really bizarre when you think about how he destroyed us when he came in. But yeah, I mean, look, I'm getting a bit. I don't know if I am getting sick and tired of it, to be honest with you, when I'm seeing the media say what they do about him, because I think they're actually pissed off that it's Everton's goalkeeper that's England's number one.
Yeah,
I think because of it's Everton. Look, we've gone from the days. And I was talking to a friend about this. You think back to when, what would we say, the Ericsson years in and around that period, maybe a few years younger than that, earlier than that. It was England would basically pick the top 4 players, England's players who play for the top 4, and you'd see maybe the odd 1 or 2 who would then go on to end up playing for one of the top 3 or 4 sides. I just remember when Michael Ball got a game. I remember being absolutely delighted, and David Unsworth, obviously they stayed at us, but Michael Ball moved on. And it always felt like a bit of a curse if an Everton player played for England. Then I always felt like you'd go into the changing room, someone said, "What are you doing playing for them? Come and join us."
Nick Barmby kicked that off, didn't he?
undoubtedly that happens.
Yeah.
The first thing I could imagine, that's probably the first conversation if you go into an international dressing room and you're like, "Oh, how's it going?" and all that. How much are you on? That'll be the first conversation. How much do you want? I mean, I think it's only human, I think, to do that. And then a load of players will start saying, "Oh, I'm getting this. I'm signing a new contract on this. What had Everton given you, Jordan?" But for some reason, and when he retired, I think we probably get the opportunity to interview him and ask him what the motivation was to stay at Everton. And I'd ask that as a neutral, not as an Everton fan.
Yeah.
Because I think as an Everton fan, you get him saying the questions the answers that many would want in terms of I love Everton, all of the typical stuff you get maybe in a media capacity, that they're going to say all the positive things about the club. But I'd like to dig a little bit deeper and ask him, okay, look, it's Everton. It's not a title-winning European side, but you've maintained your career at Everton. It's an extreme rarity these days when a world-class player, and he is a world-class goalkeeper, stays at a club that isn't competing for trophies. Look, if he goes and signs a 5-year deal now, then Everton might well be heading in the right direction where they're going to be able to compete for trophies and positions and excel the way in which we all want it to. And then, it puts a little bit more light to Everton, which in turn will mean that people look at Pickford and think, oh, yeah, well, you can see why he stayed there then. But by and large, Everton have been in the mire while he's been with us, and he saved us multiple times. When we've had the relatively half-decent seasons, when we got into Europe with Koeman, Pickford was there at the front and centre of it all. When people say he's rash, he's not rash in any way, shape or form about saving shots. That's never been an issue when I've looked at him and seen a couple. No. To my mind, look, people will probably say, do you remember this, remember that, remember Liverpool at Anfield? I think that one moment where he fucked up at Anfield in that game, that'll stick by him throughout his career.
It will, but it was freak, wasn't it? I mean, that was the worst shot in the world, but the spin on it to stay in was mad.
Yeah. And that thing, obviously, it haunts us forever as Evertonians, and the Reds that do listen to this, because there are a lot of Reds who listen to us, will be delighted that we're talking about it, which is my fault, so sorry to all of us Blues. But that in itself will haunt him, but also I like to think the more positive side of it, that how we came back from that. You imagine mentally with that happening in a match, not just simply because it's Everton and the game ultimately didn't mean much for us anyway at that time. You're thinking, do you know what? That's happened in probably one of the biggest games that's getting viewed in across the world, and I've gone and cooked that up. What I do think that comes out as positive from that, Les, is they all brought the bloody dinosaur, bloody blow-ups and all of that crap. And so many times he's defied that sort of everyone thinking he's shite and he's too small and all that. He's an athlete physically. He can just move himself. I mean, everyone talks about that double save against Chelsea. There are so many times when he's got us out of being in dire situations. When you look at nearly being relegated, he's been Player of the Year up 10 times. And again, I'd just like to ask him the question. Firstly, I'd be staggered if he hasn't been approached by other clubs.
Oh God, yeah, I'd love to know. I'd love to know what offers he's had.
Because I'd be astonished.
Just quickly, that's another thing. The way the media narrative shifted a bit, hasn't it? They've sort of gone from saying, "Oh, he's a bit rash. He's got a mistake in him for England," when he hasn't, and he hasn't for Everton either. They've sort of gone from saying that to saying, "Yeah, you probably need to keep playing at the top 4 clubs. They need to be playing in Europe and all this shit." So they kind of shifted the dial a bit, sort of. Maybe to unsettle him. Who knows when he's coming to the end of this deal? It could be to unsettle him. But yeah, go ahead. Like you're saying, it's.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that I'd be shocked if Man United hadn't been in for him. But maybe even in as short as the last year, 18 months with some of the nonsense they've had going on with goalkeepers. Chelsea the same. The number 1 England goalkeeper playing at a club who aren't really going anywhere. I'm talking about us in general. Then you're thinking, just what? He must be there like a sitting duck, ready to go and sign him. Yet it hasn't happened. Wouldn't be costing them that much in comparison, particularly a side like Chelsea and United, I suppose, given what they've got to spend anyway.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have been too difficult to go and put the offer in there would ultimately take him.
Yeah, Chelsea spent 80 million on Kepa, didn't he? So
exactly. I mean, you think about that, and then you think Ederson have just left Manchester City. I know they've got Donnarumma in now, but every single time a club needs a goalkeeper, I would expect Jordan Pickford to be near the top of that list. Yet it hasn't happened, and I'd love to know why. No, I mean, not that I'm not massively grateful that it hasn't, but what I mean in terms of would they instantly reject them, and a lot of my thinking as well, Les, with them is that sometimes people just suit where they are and want to be where they are, and that's not against what he wants to achieve as a player. That's him. Maybe he puts his family first. His family love living where they are right now. He's got a routine. He's got a life that he likes. He's in a position where he's the best player at our club, even though he's a goalkeeper and with an asterisk next to it. Maybe that's just old fashioned. Maybe that's the way he is.
yeah,
And yeah, I mean, I think the things that people label on him is when he's done all the sort of rash stuff he does when the stuff when he's playing Newcastle and he pulls faces and all that sort of thing. When you can see the goal, people automatically think that's because he's done something wrong. But it's not because he's done something wrong. It's because of the way we've defended or the way the opposition have scored a goal that simply can't be saved. I think it's really lazy to say, but that's because Pickford weren't asked. Of course he's asked, but he's a bit of a maverick as well. And I don't want him to change because that's what makes him who he is.
Exactly, yeah. And the thing with that is, if it's a striker doing that, sort of being a little bit arrogant, or a midfielder, everyone's like, "Oh, brilliant!" That if they're a top class player with a little bit of arrogance, it's fine. If they're an outfield player, there's no reason why a keeper shouldn't have that, because he's when he makes a save and he celebrates like he scored a goal, that's the closest he's gonna get. So it's just his personality and the way he is, and I think. Like you're right, people don't like it because he's at Everton. If he was at one of the Scab Six clubs, you wouldn't have any sort of backlash against him. But like you say, it does feel like he fits Everton, Everton fit him, and it's just a good match. I am concerned about this contract though. I'm not doom mongering here, but it is going to be his final big contract. And this I feel like this would be an awful time to leave Everton, particularly if you've sat it out that long. Now is the time to stay and see what happens. But like you say, there's always that doubt that someone could come in for him and almost guarantee him a trophy at some point. I think we said before, I think the England thing sort of tempers that ambition because he's number one for England. He's playing in big tournaments. He's getting the high-profile games with England, not with Everton in Europe or Everton in the Premier League. I think that kind of sort of satiates that part of his character and his needs. But I do worry that someone could come in and this is the last chance for anyone to come in, the last chance for him to get a big move. I just hope we sort it out. And it's good that the club are sorting it out quickly and getting on top of this because it doesn't end for another 2 years. 2027, his contract ends. So, it's good that the club are picking it up now and not, leaving it we'll leave it till the summer or whatever. Get it sorted early and get it done. It just because it'd be a disaster if you went. I'm too old to like idolize players, but I absolutely love that fella. And I'll be devastated when he finally leaves. And I don't want it to be now. I want him to be our keeper and move us forward. And because we feel like we are in a better position than we've been for a decade.
Yeah, and largely or a high percentage is down to him as well. Yeah. I mean, you look further afield. Maybe I'm digging this a little bit too deep, but when you think about Everton getting new owners, well, Everton are getting new owners because Everton is still in the Premier League. Why are they still in the Premier League? Largely down to Jordan Pickford.
Yeah,
I think what you're saying there about being a little bit terrified, I am too, because I think that maybe this is the age where you become, well, do you know what? Now's the time where I go and have a look elsewhere. I think about it, outfield players have done it. Trent over the other shite, he's done it. It's like you need to go and experience somewhere else.
10 years is a long time.
Sorry?
10 years is a long time at a club.
Yeah, it is, particularly this day and age. But also the other side of it, I'd like to think that the stars have aligned and we've got owners there who'd be like, go and do what we've just said there. And that's where I think the boost comes from, that feels like it is the equivalent to what we need in a positive way, that they're able to say, well, look, they've been told by the club, or they've got people in and around who say, "Listen, he's the number one here. We need to get this lad, whatever." And in terms of wages, go and give him Bramley Moore, sell him Bramley Moore, doc. I don't care what it is, because he's that good and that crucial, and people are now putting him in the conversation alongside Neville. And he's no one's going to be near Neville Southall. Nobody, but that doesn't discount how good they are. Because you are talking about one of a kind in Neville Southall, and I wasn't even around for Neville Southall. You'll have seen Neville Southall in his pomp, Les. I can't imagine you say Jordan Pickford doesn't get near him, but that doesn't mean that Jordan Pickford isn't a world class goalkeeper. And look, you get one of it's like comparing, I guess, a world class player now to Messi. Nobody's getting near Messi, but it doesn't mean they're not world class. So yeah, I mean, we need to get him signed up. I think it's another positive spin that we've got, another positive step forward. If Everton can secure him, then you're looking at a settled squad now. And I was only thinking the other day, a couple of weeks ago, and I was saying we need players, we desperately need players. Maybe I'm going a little bit too far once again, but you look at that win against Wolves, you look at that win against Brighton, you're thinking Everton have got a decent side here now. I think maybe on the surface, if a couple of injuries come along, then you start to look at it and think, this isn't great. But Everton's starting 11 right now. I'm in a happy position with that.
Yeah, same. I think the signing of Merlin Roll was big, because we needed that extra body in midfield, because I don't think Erabunum's can consistently do it. And I think that was huge, because that's another body in midfield. And now you're looking at it, because the big concern was AFCON, wasn't it? We lose Garner and we lose Ndai. To lose them two from last season's team, it just doesn't bear thinking about. Even this season, to lose them, it's going to be a problem. But I feel like we've probably got enough to cope. Maybe we won't be as good. We're a worse team without them, but I think we've got enough to cope, and I think we've done well enough. Plus, we will have the January window then as well. So the club's done incredibly well. To be fair, it took a while. We knew it would run into August, but I think they've done incredibly well, really, given the player chain that was there.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think if you are to look at those two players there who you do replace, you've got a £40 million kid you just bought there who should be relishing to get the opportunity of playing. You can go and play that side for us, dribbling. Let's hope that he's everything that everybody said he is. Yeah. I'd like to see him getting blooded in, but I think it's difficult for him to immediately get in the Premier League. So you look at the Carabao, you go and start him away at Wolves when that comes up. And then the new lad we've got as well there, Merlin, the Merlin, the magician there in midfield. So I mean, he looks special, him as well, from what we've seen. Obviously, it's the famous old YouTube videos that you look at with him. I don't think he plays particularly in the just a gay role, though, does he? So you may be looking at somebody else coming in. Maybe it's a James Garner role that you put in. Another fresh midfielders. I think that's a great signing that we've got and made there. And I think, what? You said his name. I thought, who's he? And, it doesn't immediately think that we've gone and signed another midfield player when you've got who we need is in there right now. Interesting that we sent Harrison Armstrong on loan as well. But then I think that's behind the thinking that you've gone and signed another midfielder, and now it's time for him to go and spread his wings, sort of thing. So everything feels like they've done things appropriately. They've done things that make sense at the moment. Yeah, we can cry all season long about a right back and a left back to an extent. But I think we've got a manager there now with Moyes who's, if you'd ask him behind closed doors, he'd be pretty content with what we've got.
I think so. And it's a young squad as well now. The age has come right down. We've signed some really exciting young players there. Which leads us nicely into the final bit then, because Aston Villa are up next for FC Handsome. Been a bit of a bogey team for us, but we've not beaten them since 2015-16 when we did the double over them with Martinez. We beat them 4-0 at home and 3-1 away. This game's got a little touch of the beat Villa go top about it, hasn't it? So I think we can actually go top if Arsenal don't win in the early kickoff against Forest. I think if we win by 3 goals, I think we can go top, and then Chelsea and Spurs play at 5 and 8 o'clock at night.
I don't know if we can, Les, because don't Big Red play before? Oh no, Big Red play the day after, don't they?
Yeah, so we can. I mean, to throw even more sort of concern in it for me, they've got 1 point this season, a 0-0 draw on the opening day with Newcastle. They've not scored. They've been humped by Villa at home. They look pretty bad. They've just signed Harvey Elliott and weirdly put him at number 9. Feels like he's going to score. It feels like he's definitely going to score. But also feels like Jack Grealish is probably going to score. It's one of them, isn't it, where there's a lot of things lining up here, and it's setting up to be a good game. You know, we should, you know, it's overdue. A win against them was overdue in the last 10 years. But I'm just really wary about this one because they've been so bad. It's like it's going to be a really tricky game because they're not a bad side. They've just had a bad start, haven't they?
Well, they've just about missed out on the Champions League, didn't they? In Europa.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean things have started off really poorly for them as well. When they've got like I think he's a bit of an enigma as a manager, given how poorly he did at Newcastle, at Arsenal, but he won the Europa League 3 or 4 times, didn't he, at Seville? Something ridiculous like that. I think he's a top manager, and I think he's the kind of manager that doesn't hang around for long unless they start kicking off a season. Not that I'd say he's going to leave at any point, but I think when you've got the expectations of the team that they have, which they want to be in the Champions League position in the conversation once again, then you know there is pressure if you start the season by just 1 point in your first 3 games. Coming to us, yeah. Do you know what? Ironically, I just think back to that goal Ashley Young scored in the last minute. That, you know, when he ran through us at the end and scored. Don't know if that was about 07, 08, something like that.
Oh yeah.
That one when he was only a kid when he went and did that. But yeah, we used to have some proper like humdingers of a game against them, didn't we? We used to have some belter games against Aston Villa. And I don't see it to be any different, to be honest, because we look like an entertaining side, don't we? You've got Harvey Elliott there who can't get a position at the moment at Liverpool. So it's probably a wise signing because whether you like or dislike him, he's a good player. He's a talented kid. Well, number 9's interesting, like, to see what they've gone and done there. With Watkins as well. I mean, he did well to keep hold of him. So, I mean, I feel now when we're in a place we are, I mean, it's a really good mouth-watering game, I think, for the neutrals to see us against them at home. But dare to say it, Les, I'm already in the psychological position of we'll have anyone at home. Give us anyone at home, and we'll do them. I feel like that right now. Away from home, obviously, is completely different. You're a completely different entity when you go away from home. We've got them coming up as well, haven't we? The week after. So I mean, I'm confident we get 3 points against them. I really am, because I just feel like that noise we heard on the opening day of the season, the opening game of the season. There, I mean, I think it's the kind of place now. It's a proper cauldron of like kickoff when our team comes out. The noise. I mean, Dan Mice, we spoke to many times over the years when they were building the stadium. Maybe I'm stereotyping and unfairly stereotyping sort of the American exaggeration, the way he was talking about like what it'd sound like, and you know the how much the sounds are being and around the how you can hear your voice all over the place and it'll bounce off the walls and all that sort of thing. I thought, yeah, okay. But when we experienced that, when they came out less, and when Ndai scored that first goal there, never heard a sound like that. And we've been to most grounds across the Premier League. Look, people are going to say we're biased. Yes, we are biased, but you know that was something we've not experienced. Even though the great days of Goodison, it wasn't as easy to make the noise we did there. So you can probably you can go even higher than what it was. But we are a real. A side that you don't want to visit now already. And it's interesting because I was saying early seasons, you know what? I'd love it if I was a player going to play away at Everton.
Oh, I thought the same.
But I'm not necessarily sure that's the case from what we've seen there so far.
Yeah, that was my concern, that there'd be a bit of a drop off, and that you know everyone else would love playing there as much as Everton. But I think the crowd do need to play a big part in this. We need that atmosphere we had against Brighton. We need that from the start, and it puts me in mind of that beat Villa go top game. I remember my dad went to that and I was watching it on the telly, and I've never heard noise at a football ground like it. They were so loud. They were like really, really loud. My dad was like, he couldn't believe the noise out of the Villa fans. Like for the home team to make that much noise, we need to do that on Saturday.
that Friday night,
Yeah.
it was a proper balmy. It was around about this time of year, maybe a little bit earlier, in the end of August, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was end of August. Yeah.
And like I say, it was a Friday night game. It was still sunny, sunset and all that, and it just looked like it was the type of game you wanted to go and see. Do you know what I mean? Just fresh as a daisy sort of match.
Yeah.
And I remember when they went after they went 1-0 up, Walcott missed from about 10 yards out on a volley. Mate, honestly, I lost myself. Fuming at Theo Walcott. He's probably one of the nicest lads you could ever meet, and which doesn't really matter given how much people have criticised him at Everton. But I don't know if you remember it. It comes across and it's like it's on the volley, and he just skies it over, and I just went absolutely ballistic. He did the same away at Chelsea later on that season, by the way. But yeah, I mean, Villa away. I always think the one time, just to concentrate on Villa for a second, when Lukaku scored and we won 2-0, and Tim Howard, you'll only hear this once, made an incredible penalty save.
Oh, the penalty save, yeah.
Against Benteke, and it honestly was a fantastic save. I'll give him the credit for that. And we went 1-2-0 when Lukaku and Osman scored. So, yeah, I mean, it's generally a really good game against Villa. Would you take a draw now? No, I wouldn't take a draw.
No, I don't think I would. No.
I'm looking forward to that. And do you know what it's made me feel like there, Les, that we sound like fans on, like, you know, other podcasts and stuff from other clubs who are like, yeah, we'll beat them. They're shite. We'll beat them. But I have a genuine feeling now that we are gonna do these.
Yeah, it's nice to have the confidence, isn't it? And also, if we do, I mean, I'm giving it the kiss of death there. Yeah. If we do, how much does that set up that derby on the 20th? Well, it's because, you know, when was the last time we had the top of the table derby clash? The potential's there for that because they've got Burnley away on the Sunday, so there's a lot of potential for that to be like a top of the table clash. Hopefully, the last time I can remember,
you're going too far ahead of this, Les. You are going.
I know. I'm all in now. I'm all in. I think the last time we did that I remember was about 93, 94.
You've got three teams in front of us for the start to get up to them.
Oh, I know, yeah, but I mean, even if we're in points touching distance, really, even if we're fifth, we might still be like a point behind or something. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, I think you maybe someone will slate me this because Steve Dickinson, by the way, you plugged that towards the end, but I'm sure he'd know the answer. I'd probably be Dixie Dean the last time we were playing them first versus second. Probably, yeah, I'm pretty sure it would have been at your time in the 80s, Les, surely.
Yeah, I think there was a time in the 90s, the start of one of the seasons. I think I'm sure it was 93, 94 that we were
after the first 15 minutes when everyone's 0-0.
After about 3 games, I think it was, and then we plummeted. But yeah, anyway, I'm looking forward to that Villa game. I didn't realise they signed Jadon Sancho on loan, which is
he seems to go everywhere, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he seems to go wherever they'd take him.
And they signed Victor Lindelof on a free, so yeah, a bit of a scatty summer for them. That I think it was. Yeah. They've not been able to build on last season so much, really. So, you know,
but they're in financial trouble as well, aren't they, Les? I think there's a bit of a PSR issue going on there.
Yeah, because they've sold a lot of players for a lot of money, the same as Newcastle, really, and it's just a bit nuts.
They're there for the taking, Les.
Yeah, they are definitely, yeah. And we just need to make sure. I mean, do you know what? I was a little bit sceptical before Brighton, thinking it's Brighton. They always beat us at home. We turned up and we did them. Just need to do the same again on Saturday.
Oh, by the way, every single football show that I've watched or heard, all they've said is Brighton were really unlucky not to beat Everton. Brighton should have beat Everton. They had so many chances. They should have won the game against Everton. They missed the pen and hit the bar.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel to me. And look, everyone knows who listens to me or speaks to me, I'm really pessimistic Evertonian. That was Everton won that game deservedly so.
Oh yeah,
against Brighton. So I don't know who's going on about that. And the other thing as well, we never went deeply into it, probably because it was it before the first England game. Jamie Carragher talking about Jordan Pickford and how he's the England keeper, and then he basically says that there's no decent keeper in the Premier League, or the standards in the Premier League are as low as they've ever been. Yeah. And then he says about Pickford, And that completely reiterates what we were saying, that if he was in a Liverpool side, then it wouldn't even be a conversation about this. And I'm not somebody who people who talk about Super Leagues and all that sort of thing. Yeah, I get it. I get that there's a preference, subliminally so, from the hierarchy in Premier League football. I think, you know what, we need these higher sides to do well because it brings more revenue in when they go win the Champions. All that, you know, furore that goes with it. But for him, it surprised me for him to say it, to be honest with you, about Pickford. And I think many people replied to him. Some obviously went a bit too far, as it always happens. But yeah, I think it was a pretty short-sighted statement for him to say that Jordan Pickford, regardless whether he's a Liverpool fan, Everton fan, or whoever fan, I think he's he's wide the field there to say those things about Pickford.
He's always dying to stick the boot into Everton. That's why I can't understand why anyone gives him the time of day, because he's always dying to just have a little dig at us. And just saying things like that just makes him look stupid because, you know, everyone can see.
Well, there's having digs at someone. There's having digs that you can sort of back up. But there's nothing anybody can back up about Jordan Pickford not being firstly England number one and secondly a top class goalkeeper.
Yeah. And just going back to that Brighton game, then they hit the post and they hit the bar. If you look at it objectively without actually seeing the game, because we said at the time they hit the post, they hit the bar, they got a penalty saved, and then Pickford made that great save off the Tarkowski back pass. So there's 4 really good chances. I maintain the one where Matoma hit the bar, he handballed it beforehand anyway. But anyway, they're 4 really good chances. But I never ever felt, apart from maybe 10 minutes just prior to Matoma hitting the bar, under pressure in that game, we completely controlled it. We deserved to win fully. Yeah. And then, you know, just to state Pickford's claim again, he saved the penalty, and that save from the Tarkowski back pass was incredible as well, because the striker was odds on to score that. So, you know, it's like, it was we fully deserved that win. Yeah. Right, we'll wrap up there, Dave. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. What do you think will happen at the weekend? Let us know what you think the score will be. Give us your thoughts on Jordan Pickford as well, on his contract and stuff. Just let us know what you think in general. What we got coming up this week, Dave? We'll have Byline tomorrow, weekly, subs weekly, mailbag. Is there good times this week?
I'm not too sure on good times, but there is our brand new series, our brand new podcast in the deep dive, which got outstanding reviews last week on the Alex Young one. Where, you know, the first one was an education to anybody who's any Everton fan, really, given how long ago Alex Young was and the story behind him and coming from Scotland and his wife and everything. It's absolutely brilliant. And deep dive is the podcast, like every single sense of that word, those words. So, make sure you give that a listen. It'll be out. All the bells and whistles will be around it on our social media. But that's going to be excellent, because I've got to go and edit it soon. So, looking forward to listening to it a few times before I put it out. That's Thursday.
And I think Peter will have something else, another Everton Women podcast as well this week. So there's loads going on. You'll get it on your feed anyway. And if you're not subscribed on YouTube, subscribe and you'll get a notification about that when the videos pop up too. Thanks for listening, everyone. Cheers, Dave. That's been it for this week's Blue Monday. Up the Toffees.